Welcome to the Rich Report, a podcast with news and information on high-performance computing. Today, my guest is from a company called Novel Therm. It's a startup. We have Greg Stewart, who's the CEO and founder of the company. Greg, welcome to the show today.
Well, thank you, Rich. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, Greg, I'm glad you could come on. I think what you're doing is very novel indeed. The name is very apt. Novel Therm uses geothermal energy to power data centers. And boy, I'm just real curious before we get going. Where did it come from?
Well, actually, it was in my shower, Rich.
Yeah? Yeah? In the steam?
I'd been working on geothermal because I saw it as a much more viable renewable energy resource that just wasn't getting exploited. And in my search, I came across a particular technology, let's say modified Stirling engine. It's been around about 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Great inventor, sweetheart guy. Not much of a marketer, but this technology can make electricity with very low temperature. And we'll talk about that later, but basically the temperature of hot coffee.
Yeah.
And
okay.
that resource is very plentiful. And so then we had to figure out a way to make money with it because feeding the grid is not very profitable and didn't justify the CapEx.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But powering data centers, particularly HPC data centers, does. And so that's how we got started. A team of us found each other and we filed a patent for this process. And whatnot. So, it's we're rolling along. It's really quite gratifying.
Well, it's great because a lot of HPC work is around, creating new technologies that can save our planet from things like, global warming and, to kind of turn it around and let's use the Earth's energy to power these HPC simulations. That's a pretty cool idea, Greg. So congratulations on that. Well, yeah. Well, Greg, I've got your slides up. Why don't we go through that and then we'll do a Q&A at the end.
Okay. Well, let's do slide number 2 then. And this problem is obvious to anyone in the HPC world. But overall data center demand is through the roof. From what I'm told by people like Digital and others, it's expanding just powerfully. The amount of energy required is stunning, and power's not cheap. If we try to power all of data center growth, including HPC, with regular power production, that's a lot of damage. So we want to come up with something different. So, our system is off-grid, and so we can avoid outages and blackouts and all of that. And, of course, we're absolutely carbon-free as opposed to what's going on currently. So we need a new data center energy model, and we think we're not the solution, but we're certainly part of it. So slide 3 then has the details of what we were just speaking of. The amount of power, as you can see, is massive. That's just for data center use, the 416 terawatts. Cost is globally is pretty high, and we expect that to continue. It's a lot of CO2 being emitted per year. And if it does, in fact, grow 3 times, my guess is it's probably going to grow more than that. The grid itself has problems. And a lot of times delivers dirty electricity. Of course, you can screen for that. But nevertheless, it's an issue. We don't have that. You're going to have unavoidable surges and losses. You're going to have demand strain on local grids. Sometimes there are power taps and brownouts and blackouts, and then traditional purchase of renewables tends to be fairly costly. This is our remedy, of course. We're off grid. We make our own power. It's an ultra low PUE because we combine the low cost power production, geothermal, with immersion cooling, And as you know, they're pretty darn efficient. And we're teamed up in a strategic way with Green Revolution Cooling, but there are others that could do the job. And so, our overall cost structure ends up being about half of what AWS charges for our retail use. And of course, everything is modular, not only the data center, but the power production as well. So when we go to slide number 6, you can see from the photos that the resource is very plentiful. Right now we're working on 6 different properties in and about the Reno area. So the wells we drill are low cost because they're shallow water wells, because our temperature doesn't have to be that hot. So we don't have to drill down 5,000, 10,000 feet for the traditional geothermal fluids. We can get away with, like I said, hot coffee. So at 160 to 220 degree F at boiling is easy to find. So it's plentiful. And so heading to slide number 7, here's a picture of one of the iterations of the power plant. And it's a modified Stirling engine. And it's very unique, and it's relatively low cost. And the OPEX is 1.5 cents per kilowatt hour. That's really low. It's a closed loop system, so no odors. It's quiet, and so it's let's say neighborhood friendly. Even though most of our sites are outside of urban areas. The lifespan of the engine is very hardy. It's about a 40 years lifespan, and at 185 degrees F, it hits 20% efficient, and there is no other geothermal power plant that can claim that. So we combine our wonderful geothermal power plant with immersion cooling, and most people know the benefits of that. It's low cost. Again, you don't have to build an expensive air-cooled data center. You can do it with immersion tanks, and so it's 10% the cost of a traditional cooling system. It's 90% higher server density. Inert dielectric fluid, so you don't have dust problems, you don't have vibration problems. You have a nice PUE that's ridiculously low, and it's modular. So you order it, and 6 months later or less, the data center arrives. This gives you a schematic sense of how small these operations are. That's about a 5,000 foot equivalent data center. So, if we're going to do that, would be a half a megawatt deployment. What we do is you can't just build a geothermal power plant in a data center. You have to go get permission from the local government agency to do that. And that takes a while. That's anywhere from 9 months to a year just to get the right to go do it. So we do that now. We're in the process of doing that now on a couple of sites. And once they're approved, then once the order's placed from a client, it's really, we're talking 6, 8, 9 months max for a data center to be up and running. We'd like to make that point. Modular heat engines produce electricity 24/7, and we're redundant. In other words, we do them in those modules you saw, which are 250 kW modules. So if we do a megawatt deployment, we'll do 5 of those so that we can rotate, so that we're never down, so that we're redundant right on site. Immersion cooling, of course, operates very well. So the overall cost is, again, about half of AWS. So basically, a client comes to us, he tells us what equipment he wants. He or she. Is it Hewlett Packard? Is it Dow? Tell us what service you want. and all the other accoutrements to that. And so we provide everything. It's a fixed price. Again, roughly about half of AWS. There's no upfront investment from the client. They simply sign a take-or-pay contract and deliver a wholesale price, which is kind of hard to beat. I mean, if you're someone like Penguin or Digital, hey, sign a contract. We use your net worth and go ahead and finance that and build a data center exclusively. And here at Novel Therm, we retain the ownership. So you don't have to worry about that. And that, of course, eliminates the equipment risk. We take all that on. If there's failure in the data center, that's on our shoulders. And so, again, if you like Dell and Dell doesn't like to guarantee immersion cooled server blades, you don't have to worry about that. As a customer, we take that risk. And
well, Greg, I guess a bunch of questions come to mind here. First of all, do you guys buy the ground that you're building these data centers on?
We do.
You buy the ground.
We do.
And then you get the rights from the government to drill because it's like drilling for oil. You got to have permission, right?
Exactly.
Is there any harm that you're doing to the earth? I mean, like, are you depleting warmth or something? I mean, or hurting the environment in any way? Yeah.
Yeah, that question comes up. It's kind of humorous to the geologists.
Yeah.
But because, there's a massive body of heat, and basically the locations are either volcanic, like on the Caribbean islands, the Antilles chain. They have lots of volcanic hot water there.
Yeah.
Or they're along fault lines, earthquake fault lines. And so the fault lines allow water to go down deep, where you've got hot earth temperatures, and so the water is perpetually reheated, if you will. And so we don't bring the water up and let it flow onto the land. We don't do that. We put it right back where it came from.
Okay.
So it's a virtuous cycle.
I gotcha. It's just cooler when you put it back.
A little bit cooler.
A little bit cooler.
Yeah.
So the reason I ask is because there's all these allegations that fracking is causing earthquakes, right? But they're extracting water and stuff and oil out of the ground, right?
Yeah.
So, okay.
You get a collapsing sort of thing, but that doesn't happen here. You put it right back in.
Okay. So if I'm a university, you're basically selling computing as a service with this method of generating the electricity such that you're not having to pay, Portland General Electric like I do. The Earth provides it and continually provides it, kind of like they do in Iceland with their power generation.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So what kind of scenario, Greg, would be good? I mean, I'm just thinking like if I was in Saudi Arabia and I plop this there and I do my seismic processing right where I get the data from the seismic charges, this kind of thing, is that what you're thinking? Or is this more, like for a university that just wants to pay less for their cycles?
Yeah, I think, a university, for example, Cal State University system is the biggest college system. They use quite a bit of HPC, but it's sprinkled out through a number of campuses. Well, they're all hooked up to mostly AWS, and from what I understand. Yeah. But we're approaching them with an idea of putting it all together, and they want to be green. They really do. Yeah. And they also want a good buy, and so we're both out.
Yeah. And then how do you get the data out of the desert and into the desert and all that? Is it
well, you'd be surprised how readily available fiber is. In fact, the sites I'm working on right now, I've been told by my broker who does the fiber work that it's can be it can have redundant fiber
Mm-hmm. Wow.
out there. So, I
Yeah.
mean, we're talking out there.
Right. Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So even Reno, I mean, I know from my experience in Las Vegas at the switch networks, they have some of the biggest pipes, data pipes in the world going in and out of there
Oh
because of
yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah, switches in Reno too.
yeah. Oh, that's right. They are. I forgot. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where do you go from here? Are you looking for partners? What's the call to action? I mean, you know, you're.
Well, we're fairly well funded
Hmm.
with seed capital to get to a place where we would then, with a client in a contract, go out and finance individual projects. So
Okay.
Novel Therm is the development entity,
Yeah.
and and then it will have separate standalone data center projects
Hmm.
with each client that we
Yeah.
accompany.
Yeah. And how big? I mean, you have two containers there full of these immersion cooled computers. I mean, is there any reason you couldn't have a dozen of these with multiple Stirling engines? Or
Yes, good point, Rich.
yeah.
What limits the size? Well, the answer is the resource extraction.
Hmm.
Most of these locations that we're working on are at minimum 2 megawatts,
Okay.
but some of them are 12 to 15 megawatts. So we would just add more wells,
Yeah.
add more equipment as we add more clients.
Yeah, and when you're talking 15 megawatts, that's about the range of the world's most powerful computer now, which is Summit in Oak Ridge, is right around there. I think it's 17 megawatts or something. And that's
Yeah, yeah.
over 100 petaflop machine, closer to 200, right? So big
Yeah.
stuff. Wow.
It is big stuff, and we could do big stuff. There's the only limit again is
Hmm.
the resource, but
Yeah.
as you saw from the map, there's a lot of resource.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is really exciting, Greg. I mean, I think I was reading that very soon, about 1.5% of the world's energy production will go into data centers,
Oh yeah.
and it's just rising. It's Google and everybody are building these things as fast as they can to make money with,
Yep.
right? So,
Sure.
wow.
And we want to help them.
Yeah, yeah.
But we want to do it right. We want
You
to
want
do
to
it
do it
green.
right. Right. Well, Greg, I guess we talked about a call to action, but how do they engage with Novel Therm now? I mean, people that might be
Well,
interested. Yeah.
we we do have a website, of course,
Yep.
noveltherm.com, and
Mhm.
people can reach out through that.
Yeah.
If they want, I'm happy to. My phone number is direct line is 562-712-2005,
Mhm.
and we're happy to take calls and put out proposals
Okay.
as we engage.
Right. And are you planning on coming to any trade shows? I know I missed you at Dallas at SC18. What's your calendar looking like?
Well, we're scheduled for Denver next year
Yep.
for SC19,
Yep.
and our demonstration machine that we had there last year that was a big hit.
Mhm.
Believe me, engineers loved it. But the machine wasn't working then. We lost a valve, but this year it'll be functioning. People will be able to see what we do in the field and actually watch a small version modified Stirling engine make electricity and run the little computer on it.
Oh wow! Do you hook it up to a coffee maker?
Pretty much. It's got a homemade hot water heater,
Yeah.
and we just plug it in the wall so we make
Uh huh.
hot water,
Yeah.
as a substitute for the geothermal. But then you get to watch it work, and it's
Yeah.
it's really a dazzling show. Let's put it
Wow.
that way.
Wow. Well, Greg, congratulations. This is so innovative, and it just sounds like great news for the planet if we can make this stuff at scale, rather than burning
Yeah.
coal and all this other stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just terrifying.
Yeah.
Hope
Yeah.
to have grandchildren, and boy, that's
Y-
that's why I'm doing it. That's why I'm motivated.
Really? That's awesome. That's awesome. All right,
Yeah.
Greg. Well, hey, thanks a lot for coming on the show today. I look forward to meeting you in person at the next show and seeing this for myself. So great
Yeah,
job.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, bud.
Thank you. Well, that's it for the Rich Report, folks. Stay tuned for more news and information on high performance computing.